I went shopping in my outdoor store and I can't wait to show you what I've made for Christmas decor. Hi, my name is Leslie and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. I've got 5 amazing projects that you can make with almost no money at all. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very last project because we are going to convert the fall village that we made into Christmas. And then I'll have a hint for you on one of next week's projects. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get crafting. Here's your quick sneak peek into all 5 of today's projects. I am super excited to share these with you, and let's get started in project number 1. So we are going to be making this adorable little angel. Now I'm going to start out with one of these paper mache cones that you can buy in that 6-pack from Hobby Lobby. But if you don't have those, you can just use cardboard rolled up into a cone shape like this, or some of that stiff paper maybe. And we're going to be using our glue gun and sticks. Now I cut these sticks to the size of my paper mache cone. However, if I were to do this over again, I would do this in layers, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about when we get later on in the video. Now, as you saw there, I am trying out a new hot glue gun. It's put out by Hoto, and I like some of the amazing features of this glue gun. Now, it can be used either cordless or corded, and cordless, it lasts for 28 of the small glue sticks. But you can, keep it plugged in. It just uses a regular USB-C. Now, as you can see, I have gotten a whole bunch of twigs wrapped around that angel, and now I'm coming in with some shorter ones since I did the twigs all the way around, and I have that large bundle up at the top. I wanted her dress to have some kind of movement to it, I guess. And so I'm coming in with maybe a little bit thinner and some sticks that are malleable. You can see I've kind of forced them to pop out to the side. Now we're going to come in with some more sticks, and these are tiny, tiny little pieces. When I went shopping out in my outdoor store, I looked for the thinnest little pieces that I could find for these wings, and we're also going to use those thin pieces for another project in today's video. So we're going to go ahead and grab our glue gun, and I am going to be just placing these bundles of wings on either side, and I'm going to layer those in there so she's got a really nice set of wings. Covering up the glue gun as I go along, and we're going to do that on both sides. I didn't actually count the number of twigs that I am putting on each side, but I tried to make them about the same density or width and same volume of sticks, so that her wings look similar on both sides. But maybe I should have gone in and counted them. I guess sometimes, if you're using a little bit thinner stick, a little bit thicker stick, you may not need the same amount to achieve the same look. So now I love the look of these twig wings, but if you don't, you could use jute or some type of ribbon. And now I'm going to come in with one of these wooden balls, and I'm going to use some wire. Now, if you don't have the wooden balls, I bought those at Michael's in their kids creatology department section, but I'm going to come in with this wire, and I'm going to tuck it inside of her and kind of make it a round. You can see what I'm doing here. So that her head will stand on that, and then we're just going to glue that down here in just a little bit. But before I do, I wanted to put her some little eyeballs on there, so I am using these paper craft dots in the color black, and then a nice big old glob of glue to get her head stuck down there. And then I'm going to finish her off with a few of these little acorns. Now, if you don't have the dots, you could use puff paint or just paint on some eyeballs. I just wanted to give it a little bit of texture. And if you don't have the wooden balls, then you could use maybe one of the ping pong balls or, you know, a large bead. And then I am going to finish her off with a little halo made out of Spanish moss, and I had her kind of holding a bundle of tiny acorns. And here she is all finished off. I think she is so, so sweet. And you could make this larger and use it as a tree topper if you were so inclined. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you to those of you who are my regular subscribers. You know I love you. And to those of you who are visiting, I hope you'll consider staying. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Give today's video a big old thumbs up, hype it, share it with your friends, and comment down below. Now, let's get back to crafting. All right, that brings us to project number 2. Check out these little Santas, and I would say they're probably more on the primitive side. So we're going to just need a little bit of paint and a teeny little bit of fabric, or you can achieve the same look with paint. And I am going to take 3 sizes of twigs, branches, and cut them to the size I want my Santas to be. This is another project you could actually make really large and have large Santas sitting outside of your front door. Very easy to make. Now I decided that I wanted some texture on these instead of just to all be paint. And so I am going to use this Hodo glue gun again. Now, there are a lot of things I love about this glue gun, but one of the things that I found as I was doing this project and another project that required some kind of fine detail work is it didn't work exceptionally well for the fine detail work. And there is a learning curve with this because you can push it in one way and it automatically feeds and delivers glue, or you can manually feed and deliver glue. But it's really sticky. The one thing I did love though is I did not burn my fingers like I do with regular hot glue. So I don't know if it's this glue gun. It's supposed to have some kind of sensory, you know, where it can tell, I don't know, or whether it's maybe the glue that they use, but it's really interesting. So here I am going to finish off the little Santa hat. It is very sticky though, and I found in these detail places that it was sticking to my fingers. But for large projects, love, love, love it, and it lasts a long time. It heats up in like 60 seconds, 30 seconds. I mean, super, super quick. So once I got the little white piece on there, and that fabric, it's kind of like the little velvety fabric I bought in red and white. I think I also have it in black. We're going to use that on the village later. I got those at Dollar Tree. And then I mixed at the very beginning of this, you saw I mixed 2 colors, a little bit of ivory and a little bit of peach to make the skin tone there. And I painted on the faces and the beards. You could paint on the hat too if you wanted. I just thought it was really cute with the extra texture on there. And that brings us to project number 3. I am obsessed with this tree. So, you know, I had all those little tiny, tiny pieces, and we're going to cut bunches and bunches of them. And I cut them to about, I want to say 2.5 inches long. And my little tree piece is, probably about 8 inches tall. Now you can make this however big or small you want. And I'm coming in with a little bit of glue, and I am just putting it right on the end of the tiny twig and kind of going all the way around. I started at about 2 inches up on that little branch there. And I'm just, you know, putting it in there every so which way. you know, kind of giving it some whimsy and, you know, making those little branches stick out so that it kind of looks like a real tree. If I were to go back and do this again, I would probably put it on a little bit more in layers like I do as I get toward the top, and I'll show you that when we get a little bit further in. But you can see just kind of filling in and giving it some whimsy, and then we're just going to keep going. And originally, like I said, I am going in one twig at a time. It does get tedious, not gonna lie, but I love the end look. So learn from me and take, here we go, we're starting to get it now. Take two or three or four little pieces and glue those in at the same time. And then you can kind of go around. You see how I'm kind of going around, all the way around, doing, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 pieces at a time, and moving my way now up the tree. So it's getting a little bit denser as we get up towards the top, which I guess is, you know, very similar to how a normal tree would look. And so you can see there where I've gotten the kind of the bundles of tree pieces. And then as I got really close to the top, I picked some of these little twigs that are more malleable, where I can kind of bend them out a little bit, give it like a little hair flip, if you were, so that, and here you can see where I'm doing it. So these are probably a little bit more green maybe, and so they've got a little bend to them. They're not, you know, crispy sticks. So when you're shopping in your outdoor store, find you some crispy sticks, you know, ones that are really good and solid. But then, you know, you can find yourself some of those that you can kind of flip their hair a little bit. And then I took my heat tool and I got rid of all those little glue pieces that were flying all over before I sprayed it with this little spray foam. Spray snow. And then I'm going to come in with some hairspray just so that it all sticks really well. Once I've gotten that done, I've got these little rusty stars that I bought in a package on Temu, and I'm going to pick a couple of those and glue those together so that we've got a nice thickness of that star. Now, if you don't have these, you can either rustic up some stars of your own, either by taking metal stars and rusting them, or by using a wooden star and giving it a rust color. Or you could even do the, you know, the cinnamon stuff with the Mod Podge and even make a wooden star look rustic. But I love, love, love this tree. I hope you love it too. And that'll bring us to project number 4. This is a super simple and quick one. So we are just going to take a large pine cone and our little snip tools there we got from Harbor Freight. And we're just going to start clipping out. You can also use wire cutters. We're just going to start clipping out those little pieces of pine cone. And because this pine cone is super dry, I don't want to stick an actual tea light in it. So I've got one of the battery operated ones from Dollar Tree. And I think these would be so cute in a little centerpiece on your table with some other rustic pieces. And then you can have these little pine cone candles if you were. So we're going to take out those little pine cone pieces and then, you know, get rid of that centerpiece as well so that our little tea light has a flat place to sit. And how much or how little depends on the look you want for your pine cone and the ability of that tea light to sit inside. Now, if your pine cones aren't super dry and you're willing to take the risk, not me, you might be able to use a tea light. But I think these little Dollar Tree tea lights are perfect in here. And so once I've gotten that all done, and I guess I showed you all the way until I got it to the place that I wanted it. And like I said, I'm making that inside part flat so that the tea light can sit in there. Once I gotten that part done, then we're going to get rid of all those pieces and we're going to grab some of this rub and buff. Now I am using antique gold. You can use whatever goes with your decor, and I'm just using my finger on a glove and putting it on the edges of those pine cones where you see that, you know, that little pine coney part. I did it all over the pine cone, and then I went back in and added some on right onto the outside lip, there you go, of the little pine cone all the way around. That way you really get that glow of that antique gold look. And here I stuck this in my window, kind of like a candle in the window, you know, that they do at Christmas, only I thought this little pine cone was so sweet and super simple and very budget friendly. That brings us to project number 5. This is another one. You can gauge how big or small you want it based on the size that you want, and then you pick those branches or twigs. I'm just going to use this on my pantry door, which I will show you when the project is all done. And so I just wanted it, you know, kind of fine and small. We're going to come in once we've gotten 5 cut to the exact same size, and we are going to lay out our star. Now you'll notice you've got, you know, some pieces over other pieces. So I'm not going to actually explain over under, but you can kind of see where they went, and you want them so that they're going to lay flat. And then I'm going to just take a little bit of twine around the ends, and I'm just going to hold them in place so that we can get the glue done, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish it off. But I wanted to get the star, you know, built into the star design that I was looking for. And so I didn't tie those off or knot those or anything, just gave them a little quick tie. And then we're going to come in and glue down the 5 corners, if you were, of our star on the inside, and hold that in place so that that hot glue dries. Once we've gotten that done, then we are actually going to loosen one of the corners and put a dab of hot glue in there, and then I'm going to wrap this around and tie it off in multiple places to hold it in place. And that way, you know, if your hot glue comes apart, it is very sturdy now. Once we've gotten that done, I'm going to cut off the extra pieces, add a dab of hot glue there in the center to hold it in place, and then we're going to glue those tiny little pieces down on both sides. And I really should have my other hot glue gun right now for this. I did burn my fingers a couple of times trying to get that settled. And then we're going to do the same thing on all 5 corners all the way around our star. So we're just going to tie it off so that it is being held into place, and then glue that down. Now that other glue gun has some kind of smart technology, because I'm telling you, when I used it on some other projects for next week, one of them had some styrofoam and it did not melt my styrofoam. I was really kind of shocked by that. Anyway, we are going to be taking some of this red berries. I bought this on clearance at Hobby Lobby last year, and I'm going to take 4 pieces of that and decorate around my star. So you can use whatever you know, decor pieces you have. Don't go buy anything. Use what you've got. You know, whether it's the pit berries or some of those Dollar Tree picks, just use whatever you want to decorate your star. So I'm going to come in with 2 of those and kind of wrap them around each other, and then wrap them around the twigs. And then I've got some of those little Dollar Tree greenery picks, and we are going to place a few of those in there. And then you'll see up at the top, I've got a little bit of velvet ribbon I bought on Temu, and some flower sack ribbon that I bought at an estate sale, I believe. And we're going to make a little bow on the top of our star. And then we will finish our star off with some fairy lights. So if you don't have any fairy lights in your stash, you could leave this unlit. But I think that's one of the cool parts about Christmas time is all the lights. It's just really the season of light, and I love all the extra light, especially in the evening time when you can, have all your lights turned off and just see all the twinkles of different lights. But I'm going to add in 3 pieces of greenery, just kind of haphazardly around here. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my bow. Now, oh, here's the lights I'm adding on. And I will have these fairy lights that I use linked down below. I just bought them on Amazon. You can also get them on Temu, probably cheaper than you can buy them on Amazon. But and then I'm going to actually attach that battery pack onto the top so that you won't see it. Then for our ribbon, I'm just going to tie a little shoestring bow out of the flour sack ribbon and another shoestring bow out of the velvet ribbon, and we're going to cut this off kind of at a diagonal. And then I am going to use some wire and wire those together. And then be able to glue them onto the top. Now I'm also going to use that velvet and make myself a little hanger to put at the top, and that's all there is to this project. Super simple, and if you don't go crazy with the supplies and use what you've got, you can make this and all the things today for practically no money at all. And I love that, especially when we're all being so budget conscious. But I love the look of the rustic, especially if you've got a cabin type feel in your house, or you decorate in that rustic primitive kind of look. I love it. I've got a lot of barnwood, and so it's a great look for me, and I love that kind of natural nature look. What do you guys think? How do you decorate your house? And do you go for the more traditional colors, or do you do the kind of neutrals, or do you go into those pastels or the golds and silvers? I mean, what is your color palette for your Christmas decor? As you can see, we went ahead and tied on that velvet ribbon, and now we're going to glue on our little battery pack, and here it is on my pantry door. My husband built this out of barnwood that we had at our house, and I love this pantry door. You can see it's just also imperfect in its perfectness, and I love the way the star is on there too. All right, now that brings us to our rustic village that we made earlier in the fall. Here's what it looked like in the fall, and I will have the 2 videos that I made this when I made this, so that if you want to recreate, you didn't maybe make it at fall time, but you want to make it now. I made it so that we could just exchange the base on this larger house. So I'm going to go ahead and come in with Waverly chalk paint in elephant and some little gravel pieces out of my backyard and remake our base. And then I'm going to take my tree that I had used previously, and I am going to, well, I did already, took all the leaves off of it because it's winter time now, and we're going to glue that right onto the base and the house. Now this little sleigh is one of those ornaments that you can buy at the Dollar Tree. I am going to take off the little ornament piece, and then I'll flatten that down so that I'm not going to hurt myself on it. Flatten that down with these little pliers, and then I'm going to take that plasticky pine cone off, and I have these little I guess they're ornament pieces. I don't use them for ornaments, but I had this little set of bells that I thought would be perfect on the side of my little sleigh there. And then I'm going to take some, this is copper rub and buff, and I'm going to rub and buff the whole thing all the way around. I didn't like that tinny kind of look to it. I wanted it to look more rusty and old. And so that's what I did for that. And then I'm going to take this red fabric from Dollar Tree and make a little blanket for our sleigh. I've got these little tiny, they're ornaments actually, little tiny wreaths, and I took the bow off. You can see I'm using my heat tool, and I used my heat tool to remove things in other pieces of this village too, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm going to take a darker green color and this little stipple brush and from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to brush it with a darker green color so that it looks less fakey. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this bow, just take it apart and use it as the hanger to be able to hang this onto my house. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I thought I was going to use these little pieces that I bought at Michael's on clearance after Christmas last year to put on my wreath, but they had these little light bulbs, and I thought, well, that would be cute as, you know, kind of like little light bulbs to go around the outside of the front of the house. And so I'm going to make a little garland here out of them. I started with my little craft glue, but then it wasn't wanting to stick to anything but my fingers, so I did go back in with some hot glue and glued those on. And then I'm going to use some more fairy lights and just glue that onto the little corner there. Now, one of the cool things about using hot glue in this case is it's not going to be a permanent hold. So when I want to take this rustic village from Christmas into the spring, I can use my heat tool and remove the pieces. So we're going to just kind of tack these lights on to the front and then tack on our little string of lights, garland there onto the front and give it a little sweet light show on the front of this house. Now, going back in, I would probably color cover up. I would probably repaint those little light bulbs so they weren't so shiny, or, you know, maybe some I don't know, somehow to rustic them up. All right, now to finish off our little wreath, I'm going to take some of these little berry pieces from a pick from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just cutting those apart, and using hot glue, I'm going to glue on my little berries onto the trees and onto the little wreath. And once we've gotten the wreath all done, then I am going to glue that little hanger and glue it right in the window of our little rustic house. And that way you can see the light shining through the middle of it. And then we're going to use some more of these berries and cover these trees in little berry balls that look like ornaments. Once we've gotten that done, I am going to take my lights and just wrap it around these little trees. Now these trees came in a 3-pack from the Dollar Tree. They're in the little village section, you know, where they have all their little miniatures. And we're just going to wrap these lights all the way around. Now the lights that are left over, I am just going to toss inside the door there along with that little switch there, and that way then I can turn those on. Now if you watched the Rustic Village before, you know that I've got lights that are glued into the roof, inside of the roof, and it's on a battery pack, and those sit behind the village. And then I'm going to take some of this little white blanket, I guess it's like a blanket snow you can buy in a package. I saw somebody had these at Dollar Tree, but I've not been able to find it. This is a package that I bought years ago for my Christmas village, and I just used the extra for crafting. And then we're going to come in with a few more trees, and there's some more of those little village pieces from Dollar Tree. We're going to use just the snowman in the front. And then I've got these are ornaments for mini Christmas trees from Hobby Lobby, and I've got some little deer ones. We're going to glue that on. And then we're going to come in with our little rocking chair we made, and we are going to use our heat tool and unglue the little pieces, and then come back in with a black blanket, and I had this little black fabric that had some little berries on it, and I made a tiny little pillow for that. So there's our rocking chair. And now I am working, I want to say I'm working on the, I think it's the mailbox, and I'm going to make these little topiaries. I took off the little bases, and I keep those because I'll use those as risers sometimes. And then we're going to take truffle colored paint and paint our foam there so that it looks like dirt, and we added snow onto our mailbox as well. Now here is the little tree with the bench outside, and we went ahead and put some snow. Now I'm cutting some other fabric that kind of matches with that black to make a little pillow. This is fun fabric. I've had this for over 30 years because I made my daughter a pair of overalls out of this fabric when she was less than a year old. Anyway, we're going to make a little pillow and then add in some trees, and we're just going to glue those up underneath the snow. And this is where we're going to come in with one of those bases. Sorry, we're blurry. It's focused on that tree branch there. But we're going to bring in one of those little bases, and that way this tree is a little bit higher than the other tree. And now our last little piece, I used my heat tool and took all the things off of this base, and took the little flowers out of that little topiary. Now I've got a little bench that came from one of the Dollar Tree miniatures. We're going to make another little wreath, painting that the same forest green color to match the wreath on the large house. I've got those little pieces from Michael's, and we're going to use the little candy cane pieces to go around our wreath. And then we're going to use that same little bow and do the hanger same as we did with the big house. Now you can see those little circles down there. We are going to make a plate of tiny little gingerbread cookies. Again, these are some of those little sprinkle pieces that came out of that package from Michael's. And we're going to keep the same logs that we had. I did put lights around the outside edge. We're going to put lights on our little topiary, and the remaining lights are going to go inside of this little village piece. I didn't have lights in it before. I had a tea light in there, but we're going to put lights in it now, and instead of the tea light. And then we're going to glue this all down and into place. And I am going to add in also those little twigs, which is our little bundle of sticks for, you know, a fireplace and the fire, and just give it some extra decor pieces. Now that little piece over there on the right of the it's pillow fiber, I actually put on the large house in the chimney to make it look like a fire was in the fireplace. And I showed you all the pieces that I saved, and then I can just stick those in a Ziploc bag, and when I'm ready to make my village fall again next year, I can just pull out the little baggie and unglue whatever pieces have been glued on and glue my fall pieces back on. And here is the village all complete. I am obsessed with it. I love this so much, and I have kept it out on my little countertop here. I loved it as fall, but I am even loving it more as winter, as Christmas, and I can't wait to see what I get to do with it when it's springtime. So keep an eye out for Rustic Village in the spring. But I hope you love this as much as I do. I am obsessed with miniatures, and I just think that it is so beautiful. Now, I didn't show you the little fire pit. I just took the pumpkin out and changed out the blankets and put in red ones. And then here it is when the lights are turned down. Of course, it's still daylight, so you're not getting the full effect, but I love it so much. Here is a final look at all of today's projects. If you guys would let me know in the comments below which winter ones were your favorites, which winter ones you would like to try to recreate. And if you do recreate anything, please send me pictures to happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. I love when you guys share your projects because that gives me more inspiration and it lets me know that I'm making things that you guys love. So, since the weather is starting to cool down, it might be time to go to your outdoor store and take a walk, enjoy nature a little bit, and pick up some crafting supplies that you can get for free or no money. And if you don't have an outdoor store, take a walk in the park. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you picked up a few branches. And the sizes that you make of these projects are totally customizable, so they would be good for indoor or outdoor use. I am so glad you stuck around to the very end. Now here's your hint on one of next week's projects. You are going to need some neutral colors and textures of yarn. But until then, make it a great day and Happy Tuesday!